Well, chilly Tuesday morning, the 16th of January, 24. Had a little discussion with OBS to get it open here. I missed the open. We are open on the regular trading session. Looks like it's a little bit of consolidation, quite a bit of selling here. We got a swing high, and now we're looking at a swing low. Got all of the statistics in place already for a lower out of range, which is a bit. This is a holiday. Yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, so I scrubbed the holidays. This would be then the last regular trading session on Friday. Here we are open. So essentially we opened lower out of range by just a little bit. Today the stats are a little bit up to interpretation, I guess you could say, if you want to look at it, or basically rotational at this point, open auction. Here was Thursday and Friday, where we had, this is the micro composite. We've opened not really a gap, but pretty close. Might be a little bit off in my lower outer range. Maybe it's lower in range. But it was, we did open below the close. So if you look at the previous RTH close is up here and the open is down here. So it is technically out of range in that regard. I don't see the RTH low here. I assume it's buried under one of these, so perhaps I've got it off. Lower in range, lower out of range. When it's within a couple of points, it doesn't really make that big a difference. What happens is these statistics change a little bit, these numbers. So I think that catches us up to where we pretty much are today. Now, real close range here, we're looking at about 8 or 9 handles of range all told. This is the full session volume profile, and this is the current RTH session volume profile, and this is the chart volume profile. These high volume nodes are pushed from the micro composite. These price levels are pushed from the the IRT micro composite. I should have clarified that. These levels are pushed from the IRT price levels to Cloud Notes here in Bookmap. And the statistics are automatically input by me every morning based on the study in IRT. So that's pretty much it, I think. I've got the, I have the, setup here for the, where am I? We have the setup here for the multi brackets to give the risk neutral setup. That's 12-point stops for both contracts. It's a 2-contract package, multiples of 2. 12-point stops. First target is 12 points positive, which gives the risk neutral for the second contract. And that's that. And it's already configured in my trading system. Here, 2 contracts, and I have both configured because I enter with the keyboard and then manipulate the stops and targets with the mouse. I think that's pretty much got it. Hate being behind the curve here, but well, we had a big sell-off early on the overnight. The trading has been kind of similar So here's the overnight, big sell down, right off the open, little up and then all the way down, based out, and then London came in and brought it back up a little bit. That's kind of reminiscent of what the other day trades have been doing. Maybe look at that like this. That's the overnight. Got this way off here. That didn't work out like I had a plan. There we go. Here's today. Here's overnight. This was yesterday's or Friday's. Thursday's. Similar idea, right? Big sell off, base out, then come back up. This is arguably a trend day, but because it rotated, then it really isn't anymore. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rotation or 6 distributions in there. So that's a little bit dicey. And okay, I think I've pretty much thought of everything to think about here. We got our IB low, IB high, value area low from last time. Now the value area low is the previous RTH session. The developing value area low right here, developing is this session. So that might avoid some confusion. And here we go for a sell-off, and I'd love to just jump on one of these, but the breakout story I'm not going to do. I'd be looking for an IB 30. This is right on the POC, mid, and VWAP. This is a definite diddle in the middle idea, which I'm not fond of. Oh, one other thing to point out, the brighter POC here is for the current session, right here. And the duller or more muted POC is for the full session. I guess I need to change those so it's easier to identify. It is pretty much for me, but I don't know how it comes across on the screen necessarily. So I'll get back to the the window rather than the display and get a little more real estate on the picture there. And I'll be right back. Looks like we're basing out here at this IB low, big area of, well, not big, but a definite area of liquidity that it's been resting in the book for quite some time through the overnight session or the ETH. I don't know whether you call that extended trading hours or electronic. There seems to be, I guess if I wasn't lazy, I'd look it up. But anyway, ETH, 2 sessions here. ETH is the full session or the overnight or whatever you want to call it. Globex, we used to call it. That's this column. And this session is RTH or regular trading hours. That's 8:30 in the morning Central Standard Time to 1600 Central Standard Time. The ETH is from 1700 previous evening through. So in other words, this full session VP volume profile started at 1700 last night, and we'll trade through 1600 today, and then there we go. This is the chart volume profile, which just gives a volume profile for the data that's displayed on the chart to the left. I think that pretty well has it. And we're going to break out of here now. The ES, that's another one I forgot to mention here this morning. This is the correlated market. That's the ES, NQ, I'm sorry, which is the NASDAQ. Obviously, the price is completely different. NASDAQ's trading around 16,875, but it's correlated in its movement. So that's how that works. Obviously, I always forget the disclaimer. This stream is my video journal. I take live trades only here. And if I do so, it's not a trade recommendation, all that stuff, all the disclaimer stuff. You can go broke trading futures. You could lose more than you put in, blah, 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 blah. Read the disclaimer is written in the description of the video. Now we're going to add our tracking for the migrating VPOC, which are these MVPOC markers I put in here. They're just simply at these levels. I can't put one here because it's on top of that. It would be on top of that statistic. Here's one here. The purpose for this is that as the day continues, these movements will scroll off to the left. So rather than having to wind this chart in and out all the time, it can just spot where we're heading over here. I would say that they're probably going to head for this lower stat of 71.9. That would probably be a pretty good possibility. And how much lower than that they can get, I don't know. This was a real stupid move on my part, talking about putting in this marker and not paying attention to trading first. This is a VPOC migration, lower, and a test and a target. So that would have been and there was enough range, right? So it's 91 to 75 or 90, 85, 75. So that the range to target is more than enough to scale. That was a missed opportunity. It's a structured trade. That's a VPOC migration. Now, we haven't hit the target, or have we? And we've come within a couple ticks of it, so I always leave a couple ticks for the sweeper. I guess that's Tom B says from the Trade Lab. The trading lab I refer to, or the traders lab I refer to, is a Bookmap Discord chat room started by a guy named Tom B. His name online. What his full name is, I have no idea. But he seems like the real deal. He's a professional trader with a bunch of years, 44 or something like that he talks about. But he doesn't sell anything. He has real sound philosophies based around trading as a business and a statistically driven business rather than a video game. And I believe he's probably one of the only real straight shooters that I've bumped into on the internet. or he's just a consummate BS artist. But I really don't believe that at all. I think I've been following his stuff for a year or two, and I've not seen any indication of that. Doesn't call trades, does analyze trades on a live stream every day from 10:30 till noon. And again, there's a link in this description. It takes you to the book map Discord sign up thing, which is you have to do that in order to join and then the minute you do, go find the T Lab. There's no advertising. Nobody's harassing you to, sign up or subscribe to Bookmap. You do not have to be subscribed. So it's a real good resource. And I guess what launched me off on that tirade was this VPOC migration is a structured trade that Tom, he's posted several, I don't know how many, 60 something PDFs or whatever they talk about in the T Lab there. And some of them are structural setups or structured trades, structured setups, however you want to look at them, opportunities or something. And VPOC migration is one of them. Not taken mechanically, but within context, as all trades should be within context. Now, we didn't get up. Oh, yes, we did. I'm sorry. We did take out that overnight volume point of control statistic, which is typically the highest or the biggest percentage of the day, followed in this case by the overnight low, which has just gone out now. So paying attention to this VPOC migration down and the test up short. So that's say 90.85. And in this case would be scaled and with a runner looking for lower. No real levels lower. 2 days ago, the low of the quasi trend day was 47.72. So maybe that's someplace they're looking. I don't know. And the VPOC just keeps putting down, and the problem with this one is to the target here is not enough range to scale. If you were spot on exactly at 88 and scaled exactly on the bottom, that is the scale of 3 points, but that's not enough in my opinion. And where are you going? There's liquidity filling in down here at the high volume node from the micro composite, and there's no levels below here. So recent levels below here. So missed opportunity on my part. Absolutely. This test right here could have been conceived as one. Awfully close, though, as I just said, is 88 to 84. Well, that's 4 points, I guess. But where's the target? Now it's turning around, so you're coming back, looking at perhaps a scratch. So we continue our march lower. It looks like this is the current session, and the full session VWAP is now aligned with it. At a test there, and see what happens to the low side. Clearly, a sell-off or a context so far is clearly down. There shouldn't be any question where that is. There's a swing high, and down we go. So these green lines are the IB high and the IB low. You can see that the IB low continues to extend pretty quick. We're going to be into the IB 30 range, which just says the IB stat says that either the IB low or the IB high, which is underneath of here somewhere, is taken out in the regular trading session. Doesn't mean it can be the first second after 9:30, and can be, or the last second of the day. And the IB is established by the first hour high and low. That's all there is to it. Someone in the T-Lab came up with a statistic that says there's a high probability that the IB high or IB low will be extended in the second 30 minutes, in other words, from 9 to 9:30. So they call it the IB 30 stat, whereas the IB 60 stat is the old one that sets at 60 minutes in, and the IB 30 stat sets at 30 minutes in. So in another 4 minutes, we'll have the IB 30 stat to look for. And one would imagine that it's going to be the IB low. So if you're up here around 90 and you're down here at 83, that's a pretty nice little trade. And right now they're price checking aisle 3 here. So that could well be a good spot for that to move down. The problem we have now is that the the NASDAQ, which is generally a leader, usually, in my opinion, is not really cooperating. So in another 2 minutes, we'll have the IB 30 stat available, which one would guess is going to be the IBL. Doesn't mean anything. They could run it right up here and check these price levels, the original stat. They could take it to the moon. They could go up and hit the IB high. I've seen that more than once in the IB stat, not the IB 30, but I've seen that more than once on the regular old-fashioned IB statistic, where they will be cleared down around the low and then come all the way across the range and take out the high. That's, call that what it is. I don't know. There's also another trade in the trader's lab, which is VWAP. That's this line here. The POC, the mid. The only lines on the chart are the mid, which is the middle. Pretty easy. The VWAP, which I guess you could consider an indicator. It's the volume weighted average price. And then the POCs. That's it. And the correlated market is just an actual graph of the movement of the NQ. like I said about that IB low. And we grind right back up to the mid now and the VWAP. And, you know, who knows? We're now in the IB30 range. And that's way up there, the IB high. So is this a viable setup or a valid setup for the mid VWAP to VPOC? I guess the only way to find that out would be to take that trade. Another philosophy is the mean reversion, which is looking at this low volume notch here, low volume area, or outside in, bottom side, outside in. There's a statistic which I don't have, and so I won't quote a number. Very high statistic that the trading sessions are in a mean reversion or rotational state much, 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 much more than they are trending. And here we are back at the EVPOC, which is this number right here. So anybody that got excited about that mid VWAP POC trade is now stopped out, or soon will be. Yeah. Basically, we have a uptrend off the bottom into a real low volume area up here. Will that matter? I don't know. Here's the developing value area high. They traded all the way across value. At the moment, I would, based on the context of the day so far, I would only be looking for shorts, which suits me right down to the ground because I'm much more comfortable shorting than going long. But this could be a context change where we're having a maybe easier on the Renko. Here's our context. Here's our daily trade down. And now we're rotating back up here. So far, we're lower highs and lower lows until we got here. This will be a swing high. We'll see what happens. The last major swing high, I guess you could say, was here. I don't know. That's judgment call. I'd like to think that this mid VWAP, VPOC, and lower IB30 was a good trade, but I'm not real sure about that at this point. I don't see the NQ being friendly to it. They are structured trades, however. No, man. Let's see what we got here.
Order submitted.
Let's see how this works out. This would be a structured trade for the, this is our risk neutral. Our scale is well ahead of the POC, so that's a good thing. If we can get past this consolidation area, now this could be a problem because we're going to head into some higher volume here, but let's see what happens. And the whole point of the game now is the trade is on and we let it play out. That was a little bit late on the mid or VWAP VPOC. And quite possibly it'll take a stop. That's the magic of trading. We're at that high volume node, which I thought we were going to get through from the VPOC. Typically, retail shorts the VWAP or the mid when they approach from below, but we're not getting any joy here. This is not looking too good for the upside. Really irritating for the first trade. There's one out. And I'm assuming we'll get the other one out. The problem with the entry is that the stops are below the swing high. So where could that entry have been? Here-ish? To get above there. I guess that would have been the idea. This is so bizarre now. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but several times. You notice how there's two stops, one at 12 and one at 13 ticks. That's a idiosyncrasy of the multi-bracket. You can't have both stops at the same level. I've started leaving them separated like that and noticing a surprising amount of time. One will be taken and the other one will not be. So you see now it's selling off after taking that stop. Will it continue lower? This is not good. Now we've had a full session VWAP migrate up. That's a caution Will Robinson or whatever it is that Tom says. And in order to scratch the trade, I would need, this is the break even line. So in order to scratch this trade zero out, I need to bring a stop here or bring that stop at the target here. And that would be a break even on the trade itself, having taken that stop. Now, so this, the risk neutral concept is tipped on its head now because of taking that one stop out. There's no possibility to get risk neutral until we get below the break-even line. And then I could pull the stop down to that break-even line, and then it would be a risk neutral trade looking at wherever we might get the target. And in this case, because of where we are, we're going to move that target down here.
Order submitted.
Below the IB low, assuming that they're going to get the IB 30 stat. But that may not happen. And I'm probably going to very likely go back up and take out the stop again. But you never know. Could just be some consolidation and back down. It's just a crapshoot. And, I have to always ask myself the question, so shall I leave the stop where it is as the plan, or should I have brought it down here when we got below this? 1,000 ways to second guess. And there's a stop. So there are the full stops for that trade. And there you have it. IB30 didn't work. Neither did the structured trade of the VWAP to VPOC. So two structured trades crapped out. And it looks like now we're at the developing value area high. So we've traded across or transversed the developing value area from side to side. That would be considered, I guess, rotational. I don't know, to be honest with you. And what do we do from here? Do we look at that as a attempt for the value area high, IB 30, Schmurdy birdie? I don't know. That's really disappointing to have two structured setups fail. Now, again, as I said earlier, if the entry was more strategically located, so the stops were above the swing high up here, we still would not be stopped out yet. But I think that's going to happen here. That would happen pretty quick. Let's just look at that 97 as that more opportune placement of a stop. There we go. So it would have been stopped. And not sure just what to think about this. It seems like, well, I guess I have to get my head around the idea that the context has changed and that we are likely looking for higher. The mid, of course, is the mid. It's the middle. So at this point, we're closer to the IB high than we are the IB low. Okay, so I have a little bit of a soul searching experience to do here. It's pretty obvious that the context has changed. We're right back to the open within a tick or two. Context was down, and I stuck to that idea when we got to the mid VWAP, but this VPOC migration up was not good. And I suppose should have been a signal for me to take it off, bring the stop up. However, this is the full session, not the current session. So the current session has not migrated yet. Again, with the full session up. And, now we're way above that, way above the mid. And there's the IB high and the value area high. Very low percentage that we're going to get up that high. But, the structured trade of the VWAP POC or the POC migration lower didn't to the IB30 didn't seem to work out too good. So, who the hell knows? That's the magic of trading. The concept of trading that you got to get your head around from an emotional point of view is the probability of the next trade is 50-50. It's a random environment. You have no idea what's going to happen. And just when you have a structured trade that has a statistically proven edge, you have to take it. And over the idea is for the business model is that it's here we go with a VPOC migration up now. Now one would imagine that this thing was going to go higher. Context has changed, developing value area. Let's try. Oh, damn.
Order submitted.
Let's try that and see what happens. I'm going to try to just take, I've been I think, overly conservative when it comes to setups. And here we are just under that swing by a teensy weensy bit. I am targeting now. The first target is below the IB high, which makes perfect sense. And then higher ground. Now, will any of that come to pass? Who the heck knows? This could be an outside in mean reversion. And the reason I'm thinking not is because the IB POC continues to migrate up. So let's hope for the best here. And that's all we can do is take the trade and let the chips fall where they may, to quote an old saying.
Order submitted. Order submitted.
So I guess don't know how long I was on mute, but we've got the risk neutral scale at 47.36. Traded up to the IB high. Haven't taken it out. So that IB stat is not out yet. Oh, I'm sorry. The IB 30 stat is out, but the IB stat, it will only set in another few minutes. It sets at 9:30. So this is the scale and the IB, and the IB 30 stat was out, but I had moved my target, and that may have been a mistake. And I'm going to bring this thing up. Ooh. Kind of tired of that. And there's T2 that has been moved. Okay, so now that's kind of okay, I guess. I'm kind of happy about that whole idea. I didn't realize that I clear my throat frequently. I only noticed that when I started listening to these streams, and I'm wondering if it's because of the environment and talking all the damn time. I'm still using the Logitech G Pro X headset and mic. I've got a Shure boom mic, but I haven't popped for the Rodecaster Duo for the XLR interface yet. I'm just kind of waiting to see how things progress here. So we should be positive now by a bit. We had a scratch, and now a risk neutral trade worked out pretty much as advertised. Got a little bit more out of that. And actually, that's still now the IB 30 again. So we still have not set the IB high. IB stat is not set, and we have not taken that out. So there's a very high probability that the IB high or low will be taken out. So it's possible that I could have mismanaged the trade a bit, but I did. It's done now. And there you have it. So we'll see what happens. The thing that I'm a little bit curious about that's giving me pause is the fact that it could be my interpretation of the lower out of range, but the real low probability that we get to close in ETH high, which I think are going to happen without any. We're going to take that IB high stat again. There we go. And there's close. So that would have been another increase in my, wow, look at it go now. Now they're going to squeeze them. Now they got the squeeze on them. And I took my stat there, took my target there at 09. And about 2.5 more points available. A little bit of a sell-off there. Still haven't put in the IB stat. Only the IB high. So one of the things I have noticed about myself, and I think it might be it's been discussed around a bit, it's kind of a general situation or a shared response, is that when you have a couple of wins, you kind of back off the gas where you should be at least continuing with the same frequency and the same, focus on taking structured trades rather than letting them pass. In the case of like today, I had the first trade was a loss, was a stop. So in my mind, I was fully engaged on taking and finding, looking for another structured setup and taking it as I'm supposed to do by my trade plan. And now that I've recouped that loss and then some positive, I'm sort of thinking, well, I don't know, look at this up here, look at that over there. In other words, kind of backing off the gas or shifting down, or shifting up, I should say. Where in reality, you should be grabbing gears and looking for more. However, having said all of that, it is pretty much we have completely rotated and then some. Easier over here, I guess. Here's our open, completely rotated down and then some up. We still have not taken out the IB stat because it isn't set yet for another 2.5 more minutes. And we have a naked volume point of control from Friday's regular trading session up here at 48.16.5. So we're in 2 trades. First trade was a stop, which I didn't catch the timing on. Then we had a second one. And I got those chapters marked down. So as soon as I figure out when that could have been, I'll be able to know. Yeah. Well, there we go. It's fresh today. It's about 7 below. C, which is 20 something, 22 or something like that, Fahrenheit. I would say we're gonna. Oh, look at that, coming up to the IB 30 right here. I mean the IB stat at 9:30. Boy, see one thing and say another. I'm not used to being the disc jockey, I guess. The point of all this narration is so when I replay the stream, I can understand what I was thinking and see, and of course, see what I was seeing and see the actions that I take. But I think it's real important to understand my thinking at the moment. And I'm surprised at in some instances where it's like, what the hell, where did that come from? It's amazing how your biases or your habits can really, really skew your perception. That's why, RMT narration by all of these wizards, RMT meaning rear view mirror, is so ridiculous because anybody that basically understands, anything about the concept of the market goes up and down and we take trades going in whichever direction can go back and look at historical stuff and be, sound like a real whiz. That's the reason that I am focused and committed to taking no trades off stream. Here we go now. Now the IB is set, and now we're going to take the IB, in my opinion. Right, there's the IB, a little bit of liquidity, and the IB was set at 930, the IB stat. What I was saying was that if in fact I do for some reason take a trade off the stream, which I have done one, it was in the 2:00, the closing out minutes of the trading day, and I didn't have time to restart a new stream. I immediately go back on Bookmap, which records all of the action, everything, all the movement, the trade entries, everything about it. I immediately replay that and do the narration over it in the form of a stream, and then note that it's a record, a narrated recording, but it is a live trade and there's no trades entered or anything. It is the actual recording of the previous live action and live trade. I've done that once, but that's what I would do, assuming it's kind of a decision to make. I've also, in trying to avoid taking a trade off stream, I've also had a live stream for the entire session, which is 7.5 hours. Ridiculous. So that's kind of a decision. I mean, that's a decision I haven't figured out yet. Well, we haven't taken that IB stat. Look at that. One would imagine that was going to happen. And, this thing could come back to here, come back to the VPOC, and then back up. Notice that the VPOC has now migrated above VWAP and VPOC and the mid. And it's no longer aligned with the full session, which is kind of interesting. One thing that should be noted here is that you'll see this volume in the regular trading session is 73.88, and up here is 71.82. We've only got to get 200 more contracts, and this current session VPOC is going to migrate up. To about 49.75, I guess. And there we have the migration. And that will trigger the IB high, I believe. Let's see. Why would this not be a trade in my plan? Because this distance from the new VPOC to the first obstacle, which is basically just under the IB high, is only 2 points or a point and a half. And that's not even remotely enough range to put on a trade. And it could fly through there, take out the high, and go up here and smack value area high in the face. You never know. But that's the reason I wouldn't put that trade on, even though it is now we've seemed to have, reverted to it seems that we've bottomed out, had a context change back to the upside. And the VPOC migration has occurred higher up now again, and so it's migrated up a couple of times in the last little while. But that's not a reason, even now where we've had a test of it and perhaps a trigger, it isn't reason to take the trade in my view because it's not enough range. 9 to 11, that would just be 3 if it was absolutely, if you were smack on with your entries. And here's another reason why not to take it. They got to that IB high and got everybody excited about it, and now they're going to sell it off. And in my view, this is not an area, this is not any kind of a location to enter. I mean, somebody could get real technical and say, well, we're going to do a, mean reversion from here to here in a higher time frame or in a micro time frame. As far as this little micro composite right here, that's just, in my opinion, that's grasping at straws. That's looking for a trade, making up reasons to take one. And in reality, the failure up here at the IB, this could conceivably be called an IBF, which is a structured trade called an IB failure. And that would have been actually a better trade to take. But again, it's kind of going against the context of the day. The IB failure can only occur, I believe, this is a structured trade from the TLAB. I believe the requirements of that or the criteria for that are that it has to be in a rotational day. So, yeah, this is a rotational day, I guess, by And I don't think the IB failure, another requirement or criteria for the IB failure is that you have to have taken out the IB. In other words, traded up through it and then failed. Now we could be going to do that now. They tested down here for whatever reason, whoever, what was the reason they came down here? Who the hell knows? And now they look like they're going to take it up and try to get that IB high. So do you call this rotational? It is. I mean, very definitely is. Again, these tests of the VPOC and then up towards the IB could be construed as trade setups, but The only time I'm comfortable taking a trade anywhere off the POC is on a migration like this one, because I spent a long time learning market profile and things early on years ago when the, it was just generally considered diddling in the middle, which is taking trades off the POC as just retail traders fool, folly. And here we go. That test was good, and we're going to take out the bunch of stuff. And here we are at the testing the micro composite VPOC right now. Mm. So they got the IB high stat. They've got the MC VPOC, micro composite VPOC. There's a naked volume point of control from last week, Friday, I believe, up here at 16. And yeah, would have been a lovely trade down here somewhere if there was a reason to take it. I mean, you can always look backwards and make up reasons to take stuff, but taking it at the moment is that separates the men from the boys, or the winners from the losers, or whatever. And I'm not suggesting that I'm good at that, but it's it's definitely a work in progress. And I'm going to be right back. I hear some bang. I got to go chop firewood. And so now what are we doing? Several tests up there of that developing value area high, and the RTH high of day, that VPOC, naked volume point of control, naked meaning it has not been traded over by the regular trading session. If a regular trading session historical point of control or naked point of control is traded over by the ETH or the overnight session, that's not generally considered. It's still considered to be an untouched or naked volume point of control. And in this case, there's no question about it, because here's the full session volume, high, and here's the current high, and there's VPOC, and nobody's there. So, yeah. And you see how easy the RRT or RMT trading, rearview mirror trading, would be. Well, we came up here, and it's VPOC migration. We tested here, and we went long the IB high, and then up. Okay, yeah, that all looks great. And there's room here from 10 to 14. But when this was testing, here was the IB high. That was the high of the day so far, and that is not nearly enough range to enter the trade. That's the fallacy or the trap of rearview mirror trading analysis. That's not to say backtesting isn't valid, but these guys that get online or yourself that get online and think, well, yeah, I could take this and that. The humans have a developed reptile mind tendency or facility to see patterns. And I suppose it helped in the days of roaming around the jungle, keeping an eye out for something that'd eat you. But in this case, it's not helpful at all. More of a impediment than a help, especially when you look back on the chart. This is all my opinion, of course, as with everything on this stream. And, all the normal disclaimer crap about past performance isn't indicative of future, and you can lose more than you have in your account trading futures, and it's not for everybody. And I guess my best disclaimer sentence will be: read the disclaimer in the description of this stream. I get sort of irritated at the guys that can every time they open their mouth about something, it's not a recommendation. Well, yeah, okay, let's assume that none of the things I say here are a recommendation to trade, and I'm not going to say that after every time I say something. I get weary of that. Well, back down to the this could be a price check here. And then what do we got? We got another 3,000 contracts to move this POC up again. That's not so likely at this point. There's 30, 92, 89, and we got 60. So the 6. So we've got 3,200 contracts to trade out up there in order to get it to move again. And are they going to now turn the context around, go back down the other way? So we could consider this situation here an IBC, which is an IB continuation trade. That would have been here, actually, with targets at the end VPOC and higher value, the previous value area high. It would have tested back to here, which you'd have been chewing on your knuckles, but you wouldn't have been stopped out, assuming you got smack in on it. And then now what are they going to do with it? They're going to go back down again? Or are they going to go up? And yeah, so the IB continuation looks like a viable trade here. This was when we took the IB high out, if I'm not mistaken. So then this would be the IB continuation trade. Depending on where you got in, could you be stopped here? Very possible. And now it's likely we will get a VPOC migration again, but they're trading right around this micro structure here. This is conceivably the VPOC and could well be the next one if this migrates up. So what does that mean? That means that we're kind of outside in, but there's not enough range. And here's what I would consider to be the target, which is a naked volume point of control. And that's at 16. So we'd have to get to that target exactly. Ooh. Have to get to that target exactly for the scale. I don't think that's enough room. I don't think that's a... And so I'm going to eat my breakfast, which I just got, and I'm hungry. Wow, I went out to fill my water bottle and came back to the Acapulco cliff dive. I'm guessing that's news. 10 o'clock would have been a Fed speaker, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't point that out, and I should have. Well, it's Fed Walker, only a 2-star mover. But I see some copy in the I don't know. Somebody's talking about Yellen, but I don't see anything about her being involved in this. That would have certainly been a lovely Jesus, you know. That's a real hard trade to get on and manage your risk, obviously. Look at this. Look at how this is moving. Okay, there's our low. Come on. Ooh, 7-second, 8-second, 8-millisecond lags in IRT. That's not good. Why that's happening, I'm not really sure, but that's not good. I guess because of the volume and I don't know. That's should be nothing. Anyway, there was our attempts to that VPOC and then the big sell-off. So what the hell that caused that? What the heck caused that? Beats me. I don't think it was Yellen. She's not, unless it's impromptu comments somewhere. She's not a scheduled speaker. What's this going to be about? The value area low, and then they're going to go below? Or down at the VWAP, full session VPOC in the mid. And the POC's back down again. Boom. Oh, I didn't put this one in up here. Bad boy. Templates. There we go. Yeah, are they going to take it down now under this and lower? The big question. If we take out both the IB high and low, it's called a neutral day. We've had a lot of those lately. Maybe it's because I'm focused on watching for them now that doesn't seem like we got them very often before, you know. Maybe it's just because I'm looking for them like that. The human problem of spotting patterns. And here we are slamming back and forth over the VPOC, the mid, well, not the mid yet, but the VWAP. So that's about diddle in the middle times 2. I think it's thou shalt not diddle in the middle. I think that's one of the commandments in the Bible somewhere, I think. Better check that out. In the trading Bible, anyway. So, yeah. Here we come back to the value area low, which is previous value area low. This is from last RTH session, which was in this case Friday because of the holiday. And now look at them, squeezing them up. Very likely a price check here at aisle 3. They'll come up to this liquidity. Is this still too high? And if so, then they'll take it back down again. That's a frequent maneuver. The price check, and then is this still too high? And then they'll come back down. That's with such rapid movement and such little warning for it, I'm apprehensive. What the hell? What was the signal here? And what do we got going on here? You could kind of say this is exhaustion. 141 traded out here, 18. So someone would say, okay, that's exhaustion. We're heading back down. Maybe not. And that's only, so far the swing's only 2 points. Now, it is at a level. There was liquidity, which is lifted out or traded out. And so it's likely we'll price check that and head down lower. But I'm not sure what caused that big drop and what got everybody all excited here, to be honest about it. We're at this. And I'd love to get on that for another couple of 3 points, but really, I don't know what to think about that. And then that, obviously, the default in that situation is nothing. Do nothing. There's 3 positions: long, short, and flat. Flat is can preserve your account extremely well. And that is, after all, the real goal of a trader is to be able to trade tomorrow. So account preservation and risk management that's the ultimate objective for a trader, because if you're trading structured trades that have a statistically significant or statistically verified edge, the profits will take care of themselves. So here at 6 down to 2, there's a 4-pointer. But that would have been a little nerve-wracking for me to. That's really not a trade, that's not a VPOC. It's only at this level, which was the bounce off of this drop. And what that's all about, I still don't know. I still don't know. So let's look at this from a little different perspective. Here's today. Boom, boom, boom. The big Acapulco cliff dive. And now we're just putting in a zipper. Oh, this little consolidation area here. What that's for, or why, or who decided that was the right spot to trade? Got no idea. We have the current session VPOC aligned with the previous session VPOC. Well, I have that backwards. The current session and the previous session aligned back together. They're just a hop, skip, and a jump above the mid. VWAP's right on top. So this is a job for waiting and seeing, I think. And here we go again. And why? IB low is still down below us at 47.83 half. Not that that's any place we're necessarily going, but that would be neutral. And here we have just gone under and back over mid. So, yeah, diddling in the middle. So, what is all this? How do you trade these things? How do you manage your risk, and how do you know what that is? Those are just liquidity vacuums as far as I can see. Now somebody will say, "Oh, it's a mean reversion. We went from outside in, or whatever." Again, that's RMT. I don't see any way to control this risk or why they're doing these kind of things other than they're just trading the hell out of it for fun, and that's good. Or somebody's scalping a lot of it. I guess you could say it's trading around value area low. Testing value area low. But doesn't make any sense. We're traded way above it and all that stuff. That's just looking at it in a smaller time frame. Well, everybody was happy up here till this. Now, what caused that big cliff dive? And then the random rotation, and now we're still slamming back and forth between them, which is, I think, more to the point. The value areas, etc. What happened there? And the buyers kicked in. Sellers, buyers, sellers, buyers. That's obviously when there's a consolidation, the best way to think of that is that winding up a spring. So they wind that spring all up nice and tight. And which way does it pop? Down here. Then it recoils back up here, and then they do it again, and now it's up. And which way is it going to go now? That's the question. That's the question. Well, this is pretty classic price check at aisle 3. There's aisle 3 right there. And we're just up there smacking our heads on that. Will they punch through it and head up for this NVPOC? Or will they get spanked and go south? Looks to me like they're going to try to trade through it. Back to the scene of the crime, so to speak. The SOC, baby. There they got the POC to come back up again with that big bunch of buying. These dots are delta. So the bigger the dot, the more delta and in the direction color would suggest. In that case, buy delta. And what did buy delta do? It ran out of gas, and people are now selling it. So there you go. I believe that I will wind the stream off at the bottom of the hour. I'm sort of got to go chop wood and do some things for the cold here. And there we go. There we go. Now what's going to happen? I wouldn't know what to say, whether this is context is up or down. It's kind of up, if you want to be pretty technical about it, I guess. Yeah, sort of. I guess it's just a rotational day. Balanced, rotational, open auction kind of. And so the breakout from that consolidation went in the direction of the VPOC migration up to the previous high. And that just above naked volume point of control and settlement. And they slammed the lid on the pot, and here we come back down again. Was that tradable? Not in my opinion. The VPOC migration was up here. We were below it this whole way. The only time we came through it was here, which is 9, which is 10, maybe 10 quarter to 15. So that spike would have been great. Problem is, here's the IB high, here's the previous high, and they're only those are barely scale ranges. So I don't find that a viable trade. I'm sure someone else does, but I don't. Well, a reasonably okay morning. One stop and one risk neutral. So it's in the green sufficiently, substantially. This is a bunch of flipping and flopping around here that's not within my, you've got a major obstacle and highs up here, which are just barely 3 points over the entry, assuming that you like to take a trade off the VPOC, which I think at this point the VPOC migration is probably an over with idea. I'm thinking what I will do is, instead of that 7-hour nonsense, do like a morning and then an afternoon stream, assuming that I feel like the afternoon stream is worth doing and that there may be some possibility for trading, for me to trade, so that I capture everything on the stream and don't have to do that narrate over the replay things that I had to do once. And we consolidate here, right on the IB high, I should say. I would be kind of surprised if they don't tag that naked volume point of control out, which is just one tick below the high, current session high. Settlement's just up there. That would be kind of surprising. From here, that's a reasonably, it's close to the problem is that having the scale ahead of the obstacle is close. It's too close. You're only talking about 2 points. And that then dictates where the stop would be. And then, so the stops would be above the POC, which means then that the stops would have a high likelihood of being taken out, because the VPOC is the most actively traded price of the day so far. It's not too big a leap to assume that if you've got a stop between current price and the VPOC, that you're liable to get your stop hit before something else happens. And it's closer to the VPOC than it is to the scale. That's another criteria which is worth thinking about. There we go. There's an absolute perfect example of what I just said. Got long right in here somewhere, looking for this up here, and here's the most traded price, and BAP, they come down through it after a consolidation. May go right back up through it again and go up to the, that NVPOC and those targets above. But the problem is, you're just now you're sitting on the bench with a loss in your pocket, crying. Very, very definitely important to properly analyze and think about your trade placement with regard to the range for your scales, your targets, your stops, and only take those setups which you know to have a statistically verified positive edge. And that's a real simple thing to say, but that's not a simple thing to do. The statistically verified edge takes a lot of, you've got to capture a significant number of instances of trades with the exact same context and parameters to determine if they have a statistical significance, positive statistical significance or not. That means you can't have one with two stops and one with 4 points and on. That's those trades cannot be in the same group and be considered statistically significant. They cannot be in a population or data that's or samples that is considered statistically significant, as I understand statistics. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think so. So what I will do now is wind the stream off here, take care of some other stuff, and also not be in a position where I am desperately looking to take a trade. I do think that the naked volume point of control and the settlement area are going to be hit, perhaps up to the value area high from previous. But this is a pretty retail trap consolidation setup here. There's test down here, go up there, you know what I mean? At some point, it probably will take those out, just as it did the IB high eventually. But trade placement and risk reward are so important that I think the best thing to do is move on here and And I'll try, assuming that the market looks like it's not just going to continue this for all day, I'll start another afternoon stream. So I'll have a morning or AM and a PM stream. That might be better than that 7-hour thing that's just painful to watch. And it was even more painful to go through and update the timestamps for the chapters. So we've had 2 trades, one stop and one risk neutral to targets. We're a couple $100 positive for the day. And likely they're going to run this up now. It's very possible. And, you know, who knows? They're back at the scene of the crime, essentially, from this Acapulco cliff dive here, based on an insignificant Fed speaker, unless I don't know what he came out and said, but it wasn't a top tier 3-star guy. It was a 2-star speaker, which has not generally got this kind of market moving impact. So here we are back pretty much the scene of the crime when that happened at the top of the hour, 10 o'clock. And remember, this has only been 30 minutes of trade, and we're back up here now. Somebody was clever and got long down here. They're just real happy with themselves. So, have a good day, and